I have a tutorial and a free pattern for the shawl on the mannequin behind me. It's called Winter Chill, and it is my gift to you. I like to give out a free pattern and tutorial at the end of the year, and last year it didn't happen, but a lot of things didn't happen in 2020 for a lot of different reasons. But this year I am happy to have a free pattern and tutorial for you, and I designed this to be the kind of knitting that I like to do this time of year. It's called Winter Chill because it's like, you know, burr, winter, chill, but also winter chill. It's an easy pattern. It's easy. The stitch combinations are very easy to memorize. You're not going to be staring at a chart the whole time. And this time of year, you know, you want to watch your Hallmark movies or your Netflix, and you want to visit with friends and sit and knit and not be staring at a knitting pattern the whole time. I also designed it using this, I use this gradient yarn. You can use any yarn you want. You can use any needle size you want. You can do anything you want with this. There are no rules. Just knit the shawl that you want to knit. But I use this gradient yarn so that even with this simple pattern, it ends up looking really cool because the yarn did a bunch of the work for me. What could be better, right? Just sit back and relax and knit. If you would like to get your free copy of this pattern to follow along with the tutorial, the pattern is available 2 different ways. And I'm so excited about this. You can get your regular old PDF pattern that you can print out or do whatever you want with, or if you are using knitCompanion, you should be if you're not yet, because this is a good reason to start. You can have the free version of the app or any subscription tier on the iOS platform. They're working on Android. knitCompanion, and you open up your projects page and there's a little t-shirt icon that says Designs. If you go in there, the pattern is in there and it's free. And you have all the features of the Essentials tier of the iOS platform. It's all set up for you. The charts are set up, the pages are set up. They did all the work for you. I'm saying this now. It's not ready yet. So fingers crossed that everything goes well and I get the pattern to them and okay, you see where I'm a little bit stressed out, but it's gonna happen. So you can just open knitCompanion, go to the designs and just search for Winter Chill, or I believe you can also search by my name, Stacey Perry, as the designer, and that's free for you in there, and you can actually get a look at the iOS features of the paid subscription to knitCompanion that way. I'm excited, but it's also available in PDF format. So if you want the PDF version or more information on the kCDesigns version, you can click the little eye in the upper right-hand corner to go to my website, or you can look in the video description field below for a link to my website where I'll have all of the information. Okay, let's talk about some specifics here. This is a really easy pattern, and like I said, if you are enjoying the garter stitch section or the stockinette section, just keep going. And you don't have to do a whole bunch of repeats if you don't want to. You can knit till you're out of yarn, which is what I did. Or you can make a small scarf and knit until you have something else you want to start knitting. You know, there are no rules here. If you want to use worsted weight yarn and size 10 needles, enjoy yourself. This is for you. You do what you want with it. But I'll tell you what I did. I used size 4 US needles, which is 3.5 millimeter, and fingering weight yarn. And I happen to use KnitPick's Stroll gradient, and you can see what the gradient yarns look like. They, you know, if you pull from the center, or you can start from the outside, whichever one you want, the color gradually changes throughout the whole cake of yarn. And the one that I used is called, I think it's called See You Later. SEA, C, like ocean, see you later. But if you Google fingering weight gradient yarns, you can see that there are a bunch of manufacturers of yarn companies that make yarn like this. And like I said, if you want to use a different weight of yarn, or you want to use sock yarn that has little gradients in it or a solid color, you do you. You find what you like. I had a lot of fun with this gradient yarn that starts with dark, dark blue and then ended with this light teal. I thought it was, well, I'm easily entertained. So the color changes were very exciting to me. I think that's all I had to cover in this intro. Again, thank you for letting me help you with your knitting, especially the last couple of years. Things have been tough and you've been patient with me shooting videos here at home. Yes, and I do appreciate it, and I'm glad to have this free tutorial and pattern for you. Next up, we will get a close look at the shawl, and we will start with the cast on. I'm going to say cast on. I'm going to say cast on. Yeah, it's the garter tab. It's kind of the hardest part of the whole thing, but it only takes a few minutes. That's coming up next. Okay, we are ready to get started, and first I want to take a look and show you the different sections of this shawl. So let's take a look. Okay, getting a look at this, I actually want to show it the other way, because we will start here, this crazy little section called the garter tab. It is the hardest part of the shawl, but it only takes a few minutes, and we're gonna walk through the whole thing, so it's not that hard. Then we just start with a few stitches, and we just keep increasing here, 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 and here. Every right side row, regardless of what section you're on, has 4 increases. Knit 3 increase, 1 increase yarn over, specifically before the center line, an increase after, and then an increase before the last 3 stitches. So 4 increases every right side row, regardless of what section you're in. So we start off really easy. You get the hang of it with this garter stitch section. Then we go into the zigzag A pattern, which zigzags that way. Then we have a little stockinette section, then a zigzag B pattern, which goes this way, then more garter stitch, and it just repeats the same thing. And you can see here what this awesome yarn does. And you can just keep going really until you are almost out of yarn. Save yourself enough yarn for the bind off, and you can stop anywhere in the shawl that you are running out of yarn. I happen to make it through the whole thing once, twice, 3 times. I made it, just happened to work out that way, that I made it through 3 times exactly, and then I bound off. It's just nice how it worked out that way. But if you're using, a different weight of yarn, or you want a bigger shawl, a smaller shawl, whatever, it's totally up to you. Okay, we'll set that aside, and I am going to use double pointed needles for this. You don't need double pointed needles. In fact, I knit my entire shawl on 24-inch circulars. You can use straight needles if you want though, no problem. And I'm going to use thicker yarn so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. And I have a row counter because if you've ever seen one of my videos before, I can't count and talk at the same time. So I'm going to leave myself just a little bit of tail and cast on 3 stitches. Whoops. I was looking up to make sure I was on camera. And I'm using a long tail cast on. If this cast on is new to you, you can click the little I in the upper right hand corner, or I'll also put it in the video description field. I left myself a ridiculously long tail for some reason. Okay, so we have 3 stitches cast on. I'm going to knit 6 rows. It feels crazy. It's just a few stitches. Turn the work. Oh, a dog is coming to visit. That was me clicking the marker, the row counter. After a few days of cold weather, it's finally sunny and warm. Well, cold weather by Texas standards, right? Okay. So I knit 6 rows, this tiny little piece, and now we're going to do what is arguably the hardest part, but honestly, you can't mess this up. I actually want to show you something. because in this bigger yarn, you can see how this looks. Look at how that ends up looking. This is what we're doing right here, and it ends up looking so awesome. And it seems hard because we're going to pick up stitches, but it's not really so hard. So you don't need your second needle for this, just one needle. We're going to pick up 3 stitches along here and 3 stitches along here. And just get those stitches in there. Make sure not to pick up from the same spot twice, but just kind of space them out. I'm putting my needle under 2 strands. That was 3, and now I'm going to pick up 3 on this other side. This gets a little trickier because we're turning a corner. I'm going to pick up just 1 strand here. That's kind of my only option. And then I'm going to pick up 1 strand in the slip knot right here at the very edge. I want to get this last one as close to the edge as possible. I think I'm splitting this stitch. Just get it done, right? Okay, so when you're done with that, you have 9 stitches on the needle. And the first setup row is a wrong side row. I'm going to knit 3. And the setup rows are not exactly following with the rest of the pattern, just follow these. Yarn over, I'm just pulling the yarn forward. And then knit to the last 3 stitches, yarn over again, and knit 3. Okay, that was setup row 1. For setup row 2, we're going to need a stitch marker, a little ring marker, because we're going to mark the center spine stitch that I pointed out to you. So again, we're going to knit 3, because every row starts with knit 3. And every right side row starts with knit 3, yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, place marker, knit 1. Okay, what we just did there is important because this knit 1 after the marker is the center spine stitch. So we always have a yarn over before the marker, we always have a knit 1 after the marker, and we always have a yarn over after that knit 1. So as we come to the marker, again, the sequence is yarn over, slip marker, knit 1, yarn over. And then we knit 2, yarn over, knit 3. That is the basic row of this whole pattern right there. That's the basic row right there. Knit 3, yarn over, knit to marker, yarn over, slip marker, knit 1, yarn over, knit until you have 3 stitches left, yarn over, knit 3. The 3 stitches on the edge, the knit 3, gives us that nice border. Okay, and then the wrong side row is just knit across all stitches. And you'll come to the yarn overs, and they're kind of just looped over the needle like that. Just treat them like a normal stitch. Oh, that last one was a yarn over. Okay, and now we start with the rest of the garter section. Those were the setup rows. So we'll work. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Since we're familiar with the garter stitch section, let's go ahead and take a look at the garter stitch chart. And that's this first chart here. Because we're going to be working on the right side rows this way, right to left, and then the wrong side rows left to right. So this is just what we were talking about. 1, 2, 3, knit 3, yarn over. This part in red is the repeat, which is just knit stitches. In this case, the empty box is knit stitches, and the symbol is down here at the bottom of the page, or the second half of the page. So the red boxes in the whole pattern are the repeat section. You'll see that in a lot of patterns. And then we get to the center stitch here, and it's yarn over, knit 1, yarn over with your marker right here. Then you do this repeat section, which is just knit, 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 until you get to 3 stitches from the end, yarn over, knit 3. And that's what we're doing. We're gonna do that one more time. I'm gonna knit that for you. One, 2, 3, yarn over, right? Knit to the marker, yarn over, slip the marker, knit the center spine stitch, yarn over again, knit to 3 stitches from the end. And if you find it helpful to put a marker here at 3 stitches from the end, I usually think it's just easy enough to see that there are 3 stitches, and I don't like extra markers in my work. And now the wrong side row. Let's take a look at this. It's a good introduction to wrong side rows here. You're going to read it this way. And the dots, let's take a look down here. The dot is a purl on the right side and a knit on the wrong side. If we take a look, it's just knit stitches all the way across, and the repeat is just knit stitches. Okay, so let's just do that knit stitch thing. There's a yarn over, right where it belongs. Another yarn over, center spine, marker, yarn over. Cool. Oops, I didn't point out the last yarn over, but you got it. And now I'm on these straight needles. It's not as easy to see on the DPNs. Again, you don't need DPNs for this. That was just me. So we'll take a look at this. You'll see on this piece, I have finished the garter stitch section. I have this clippy marker here because in the garter stitch section, there isn't right or a wrong side. They both look the same. So I put this here so that I was always really clear about what is a right side row, because the right side row is the only one that has increases. The wrong side row are just knitting in this section. So let's take a look at zigzag pattern A. Well, first let me tell you that the instructions are also written out if you prefer written instructions. So zigzag pattern A is knit 3, yarn over, of course, and then we're going to knit 1 and then yarn over, and this symbol means knit 2 together. It's pretty standard in charts. There aren't a lot of standards in charts, but that is one standard, is that when you have a slash going to the right, it's a knit 2 together, and a slash going to the left is an SSK, or slip, slip, knit, decrease. And that's all pointed out down in the legend, in the key. So knit 3, yarn over, knit 1. Then the repeat, remember the red section is the repeat, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit together, until you get to 1 stitch from the marker, because the marker is always right here. Remember, right before the center spine stitch. So knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, and then this repeat is knit 2 together, or SSK yarn over, over and over again until you get to 4 stitches from the end. And you might be saying, well, that's 5 stitches. But remember, this yarn over doesn't exist as you're counting your stitches from the end. We're going to put it there. So knit 1, yarn over, and then knit 3. See? Okay, let's work through this together. Oh, and also I showed you how awesome that garter tab ends up looking. So let me see if I can get this on the camera so you can follow along. We're on row 1 now, remember? Knit 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna run out of yarn here in a minute. My yarn's way over there. Yarn over, then it's knit one, then it's yarn over, knit two together, yarn over, knit two together, just repeating this. This is very awkward the way I have myself set up here. I have to push the chart out of the way for a sec. I don't normally knit over a table. So every time I shoot videos, I try to use the shortest needles possible so it doesn't make a ton of noise. You see how most of this knitting is, like, I'm not even counting, I don't have to do anything. I'm just gonna keep going until I am one stitch from the edge. The edge, I mean the marker. Okay, so I did my yarn over, knit two together repeat until I'm one stitch from the marker, which is right here between those two stitches. And I'm going to knit one, yarn over, slip the marker, and then knit one, yarn over. So knit one, yarn over. I'm going to knit one and then start off SSK yarn overs. Slip, slip, knit. If SSK is new to you, I will give you a link. If you click the little I, I'll also put it in the video description field. I have to keep saying that because mobile devices don't have the little I. And I'm going to do this until I am 4 stitches from the end. Somebody's car alarm is going off. I hope my microphone isn't picking that up. Because I have the back door open, because it's sunny outside, and the dogs have been in and out. Okay, and because this is an SSK yarn over repeat, you want to be sure to end with the yarn over, don't forget that. Then it's knit one, yarn over, knit three. Okay, that's the kind of rows we're looking at here for both zigzag sections. I want to talk about the wrong side row. The next row, row 2, is, remember the dot means knit on the wrong side, so it's knit, knit, knit. And then we're going to purl, and the repeat is purl. There's nothing else happening on the wrong side. The repeat is just purl, purl, purl until you get to 2 stitches from the center spine, and it's still purl, purl, but the center spine stitch is knit. It's knit all the way, so it ends up being stockinette on the front of the work. You know what? If you just want to purl all of them, you go right ahead. It's not going to make a huge difference. It'll actually look pretty cool. So if you don't even want to do that, I just want you to chill, right? Don't stress about it. And then it's purl, 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 purl until you get to the last 3 stitches, and those are knit. And really there are 2 zigzag pattern charts here, and the only thing that's different between these 2 charts is that the SSKs and the knit 2 togethers are kind of flip-flopped around to make the zigs go that way and then the zags go this way to change it up. But if you decide you like zigzag pattern A, just work that one. If you want to also include zigzag pattern B, just work that one. If you want to do the whole thing in garter stitch, just do that. Just enjoy yourself. Okay, let me see what else I'm doing here. We did the garter tab and the charts. Actually, that is it. That's it. That's what you're going to keep working. And if you choose to use the written instructions, those are there for you. And also, I want to say one more thing that I kind of forgot about. I'm working from the written pattern here, which I don't really do anymore because I like to use knitCompanion. But as I'm shooting this video, the pattern's not available in kCDesigns yet. But by the time you're watching this, it will be. You don't have to work from the written pattern unless you want to. You can just work from the charts all set up in kCDesigns. Okay, I think that's it for this section. And that's really it. That is the bulk of working through this shawl. Next up, the next section, we're going to talk about the bind off and finishing, coming right up. Okay, I hope you are enjoying just knitting along, chilling, enjoying the pattern. I hope you enjoy it. This section we're going to talk about the bind off and finishing the shawl. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, there aren't a ton of techniques used in this, but I did want to walk you through again how the different sections come together. If you work them as the pattern is written, or if you stray off on your own, this is how the pattern's written. Garter, zigzag A, there's a little bit of stockinette between the two, zigzag B, that's the first that's the whole repeat of the pattern right there. Then we start from the beginning again. Garter, zigzag A, a little bit of stockinette, zigzag B, that was my second time through. Then started over again with garter, zigzag A, a little bit of stockinette, zigzag B, and then I bound off. That you can do that as many times or as few times as you want. The measurements for what I got out of 100 grams of fingering yarn is right there in the pattern. Okay, but I want to show you the bind off, because a lot of times when we're working on patterns and the pattern says bind off loosely, I will recommend holding a bigger needle in your right hand to bind off, and that's usually enough. But this pattern, we're going to want to use a stretchy bind off, because when we block this whole thing out, you're going to want that extra stretch. So my little bitty scarf here, I'm going to use a little bitty shawl I'm going to use for the example. And actually I have some yarn overs in here, but I think we'll be all right. So for the simple stretchy bind off that I use all the time on socks or anything that needs some extra stretch, it isn't a great bind off for things that aren't stretched. Because in this case, we're getting the stretch with the blocking. You'll see that it can end up looking flared if you use it in the wrong situation. But it is excellent for this, it's excellent for socks. You start with 2 knit stitches, then take the tip of your left needle and put it into the front of those stitches. Then you wrap the back needle and pull it through. So we essentially just knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop. Whoops, I'm way up there. Okay, now I have 1 stitch on the needle. I'll knit a second one. Take the tip of my left needle, put it into the front of those 2 stitches, wrap the back needle and pull it through. This action of knitting the 2 stitches and then knitting them together through the back loop gives you the extra room you need to block this out. And you know what? I have a slow-mo version of this. I will give you a link to the slow-mo version if you want that. You just keep knitting 1 stitch, tip of the left needle into the front of those stitches, wrap the back needle and pull it through. Like I said, you can bind off at any point when you are getting close to running out of yarn, or if you're sick of knitting this shawl, whatever. It's yours, you do what you want. Let me just get a little bit more of this done. Okay, I'll stop there to show you that we end up with something that's quite stretchy. And when we block it out, that ends up being smooth and not kind of flared like it is. So let's talk about blocking. You're going to want to follow the instructions on your yarn label. Even if you're using something that is a wool blend or a superwash wool, you probably are going to want to block this out even if the yarn suggests putting it in the dryer. You're probably going to want to stretch this out flat to dry. And when you do it, we have this long edge, and then we have the center spine that you so carefully kept going with, and then that comes to a point, right? So it ends up being a big triangle, the flat side and then a point. And just block it out exactly that way. And you're going to need a lot of space because it is quite wide. But when you know, I didn't even need to pin this out. This actually just I just set it on the bed and turned on the ceiling fan and just made sure that the flat side was flat and that we had, you know, nice angles going up to the point of the center spine. And that's really it. Just keep the pets away while it's drying, because I will tell you firsthand that dogs think that, cats too, dogs think that the smell of wet wool means that there is a wet sheep in the house and they will go crazy. Keep them out of that room while it's drying. And then the way that I like to wear this is, because I'm always saying that a little something around your neck is really what you need to keep warm. So I put this garter tab section right up around the front of my neck, and then let this kind of hang like a kerchief in front, the way I had it on the mannequin, and then wrap this behind the back. And that tucks up and fills the space in my coat to keep my neck really warm. That is it. Once you finish the bind off and follow the rest of the instructions, you have a shawl to wear. You have a chill shawl to wear. I hope you enjoy the pattern, and I hope the tutorial helps. We have one more video of 2021, and then VeryPink Knits will be taking a 2-week holiday break. Well, we still have one more video coming up. And also we have the audio podcast. I'll put a link to that in the video description field, our Q&A podcast. Is there anything else I want to say before we go? I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Thank you again for letting me help you with your knitting here from my home studio, not going to the real studio for the last 1.5 years. I hope you enjoy the pattern. Good luck.